Hello Internet, my name is Brink and welcome back to the channel. Today we're presenting episode 2 of the Monk Deep Dive. So far we've covered all the basics, how the Monk works, your rotation, defenses and stats, consumables, gear and different builds. Basically everything you need to get started. Now in this episode we are taking that foundation into practice as you step into a new dungeon pool or a new season. These days it's all about efficiency, so having optimal routes and big enough pools for your DPS to blast is expected from you as a tank. Starting your run with Lindormu's guidance is a solid option, as this FX shows you the way by highlighting the mobs you want to pick up, and it's more than enough to get you going. While all this is super convenient, there's a lot the game doesn't tell you, like how big should your pool be, whether a pool is actually big enough, and which mobs you should or shouldn't group together. Pooling big sounds great on paper, but how do you actually execute it? And more important, how do you survive it? This season is packed with mobs that you simply don't want to combine. Certain mechanics together will just kill your group, and at the same time, your DPS still expects you to keep their numbers high. Meaning they want you to pool big, and while they're blasting, it's on you to keep everything under control. Make sure every mob stays locked onto you, and that's what this episode is all about. It's a fun one if you ask me. This episode is all about mastering gameplay, how to generate threat, control pools, and being confident to handle larger packs. I will show you my successful pools and also pools where I go flat on my face, so you can see exactly where it went wrong and can learn from my mistakes. Now you know my style, short, clear and straight to the point, so let's dive straight into our second chapter. We are going to kick off with the basic, taunting. First, you need to understand what taunt actually does, because there's more to it than just the tooltip. Taunting forces an enemy to attack you and straight away match your threat to whoever had aggro before. In Midnight, that effect is extended to 6 seconds, and during that time, your threat generation is increased. Keep in mind, taunts have diminishing returns. If you spam them within 15 seconds, they become less and less effective, and this is shared across all tanks. You can also use taunt proactively to secure control or boost your threat if someone else is catching up. Don't be afraid to use it. But here's the key. Good tanks use taunt when it matters, not constantly. In raids, it's your number one tool to swap aggro away from your co-tank and make sure the boss is facing you. In Mythic Plus, it's mostly used on oh shit moments, and it should never be a part of your rotation. That's a common mistake. Always remember, taunt first, then attack. If you don't follow up with damage, the enemy will go straight back to its previous target after the duration of your taunt ends. Small tip here, put your taunt on a keybind that is easy to reach, but not something that you'll press by accident. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. I used to have my taunt on E, and during raids my co-tank pointed out he was losing threat because I was pressing it way too often. So to fix that, I now bind it on Shift E across all my tanks. This way, it requires a bit more intent to press, while still being quick and easy to use. Being the shield of the group obviously comes with responsibility. To protect your team from incoming damage, you need to make sure every enemy is focused on you. In raids, against a single boss, this is pretty straightforward. You taunt the boss and it focuses on you. In the past, not too long ago, there was a real chance of losing that initial threat to the other tank. But Blizzard has increased threat generation, coming from 400% now up to 800% on many abilities. That change mostly solved threat issues, at least on your main target. In a Mythic Plus environment, things get a lot more complicated. You're not just taunting a boss over on a mechanic, swapping between two tanks. In dungeons, you're often expected to pull 2, 3, sometimes even 4 packs at once. And here's the problem, you only have one taunt. So the question becomes, how do you control all these mobs and how to do that correctly? Preparation is everything. There's a lot more to it than just running in and spamming damage. Doing it on the fly can be exciting, but it also can go south pretty fast. So you need a plan. You don't want to say to yourself, I'm gonna run in and well, we will see how we will execute it. Plan your pool, plan your global cooldowns, and sometimes even communicate to the team. Don't touch this pack until, bloodlust on this pack, or give me a defensive to your healer. Think of your pool in 3 steps. Step 1, the roundup, by tagging mobs. Step 2, building the initial threat. And step 3, sealing the deal. Before your group starts popping their cooldowns and start blasting, you already need to be ahead on threat. The DPS shouldn't be allowed to start blasting on step 1. They have to wait until you get to step 2. And then, while they start blasting, on step 3, you will seal the deal. So how does this work? Let's take a closer look at this. Step 1, tagging everything. First off, you want to make sure you tag everything. as so far you're only getting the attention of a mob. During this stage, you have to be aware that all the mobs you just tagged will have absolutely no aggro, like 0 aggro running in. At this point, it's important to know that your healer can out-threat you in seconds, pulling mobs away from you just by using his heal on you. So it's important for you to prevent that from happening. This is my main reason why I keep my taunt, or use it as late as possible, more as an oh shit button. If I see a mob going for my healer, it's my taunt that will make the difference here. It's my taunt that will make sure I'll get it back instantly. And while all this is going on, you're still expected to tag more mobs all over the place. Your goal is to get them in the right position, all grouped up, easy for the DPS to AoE them down. So how do you stay ahead from losing that threat? And that's where planning comes in. Planning your globals and your abilities in the right order. Also know your spells. What abilities will hit the whole group and do splash damage, and what ability will just hit one enemy. And you can draw a pack to you just by tagging that one mob in the group, knowing the others will follow him because they're that close. But be aware, you haven't touched the others, so your threat is like 0 on those mobs. And knowing this is important, because when for instance that Resto Druid pre-hots you, just before you go in, he will be high on that threat meter. So you want to go to step 2 as fast as possible. So for example, you tagged one pack with Crackling Jade Lightning, another pack by throwing a ranged Gag Smash, and the third pack by using your taunt. What did we learn about the taunt? Follow it up with doing damage. See it as a multiplier. It only gets multiplied when you add more abilities to it in your next 6-second window. Again, for these 2 reasons I hold on to my taunt. 1, to keep it for emergencies, and 2, to keep it close to the step where I start throwing abilities. Let's take a closer look at step 2, building initial threat. This is where your initial threat comes in, your threat establishment phase. By this point, your character should be climbing to the top of the threat table. This phase turns you into a magnet, making sure mobs naturally flow towards you, early in the pool. It's at this stage that you start focusing on positioning and grouping everything up, because you already know in the back of your mind, the DPS won't wait much longer. Even if you prefer they start blasting in step 3, that's just not reality. So your job here is simple, keep building on that initial threat and stabilize control. As a Brewmaster, you don't instantly lock everything down, and you don't charge in like a warrior. You let the pack come to you, drawn in by your green mist of threat, as they move into your AoE, and then you take control once everything is grouped. You're not just grabbing mobs, you're setting them up for your damage. And in my rotation videos I got frequently asked why or when do you use spinning crane kick. This can be one of those unique moments it's actually really good to use. You're using your AoE ability with mobs around you, and you still have the movement of the spell. And most importantly, you're saving or building back up your cooldown on your Gag Smash that you will need in the last step. A quick tip here, the more damage or AoE damage an ability does, the more threat it will generate. Spinning crane kick isn't that high on damage, so doing Gag Smashes can be considered a better option, depending on the situation and the amount of mobs. But with that said, it's time to seal the deal. Now once everything is grouped, you want all mobs firmly focused and close to you. This is where your rotation, your opener and positioning all comes together. Well, let's say in this example your Invoke Nuzao Ox has been popped, and before that you already used a Gag Smash to draw a pack in, meaning you'll have a free charge of Breath of Fire waiting. Perfect time to use it, because in combination with the Ox it will cast Flurry Strikes, which is a huge threat generator. Now you will start using your opener, Gag Smash, Breath of Fire, weave in an Exploding Keg and Celestial Infusion, aggressively to get more Gag Smashes and thus more Flurry Strikes. Your threat will be fueling in no time. So I kinda said it already, you have a few tricks up your sleeve as a Brewmaster to maximize this. And it's this gameplay why I like the Brewmaster so much. Timing your Celestial Fusion here is super convenient for multiple reasons. First, it sets you up for that defensive bubble that you're going to need on the big pack, but you want to make sure you maximize the reset on the global cooldowns of Gag Smash. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, I urge you to watch my quick rotation guide, because timing this correct makes sure you get the most out of the global cooldown reset, and will provide you guaranteed a reset to do more Gag Smashes and Breath of Fires when you need them the most. Now you can fish for more by using a Purifying Brew. This is called fishing, because this one isn't guaranteed, but you might get an empty barrel to throw, helping you to reset and accomplish the same effect. Now with all this done, you not just successfully pulled off one of your biggest pulls, you're also fueling a threat and blasting on the DPS meters. Trust me on this one, it doesn't get more fun than this. Just a quick tip here, important things to remember on a big pull. Don't turn your back to the mobs and use Fortifying Brew when you need it the most. Another important tip is UI awareness. The default UI in World of Warcraft still doesn't do a great job showing threat. I highly recommend adjusting your settings to make it clearer. Enemy nameplates, threat indicators, aggro highlighting. How to achieve this and how to get things looking like mine will be shown in episode 3, tips and tricks and UI improvements. Okay, your threat is fueling, your DPS meters is where you like it. What is next? When tanking multiple mobs, tab targeting is your friend. Cycle through enemies. My nameplate shows me exactly who is the caster, and this is important, as we want to interrupt that caster and kill it ASAP. Apply single target abilities where needed, and focus on the caster target so you get your interrupt game on point. Reinforce threat on weaker targets, and tab target to enemies that you might have missed to get back in. Now all these things and tips are important for all tank classes, and I do want to add that Brewmasters at the moment have such a good time getting threat. The splash damage on Keg Smash, the AoE on the flurry strikes really helps a lot. Knowing what to pull, what to CC and when to CC, and what to kill first all comes down to preparation and dungeon knowledge. Now I'm not going to cover every dungeon, I've picked 2 examples, and I think if you can do these 2, you can do it anywhere. So that's something we'll cover in the next chapter. Now enough of all this theory crafting, let's get into some action. I've chosen 2 dungeons that start with some really interesting pulls. Algeth'ar Academy and Seat of the Triumvirate. Let's kick things off with Algeth'ar Academy and break down the first pull. Just a little bit more homework before we do. When checking Mythic Dungeon tools, you have this little icon, a note, saying you can do the first pull all at once. But if you do, use Bloodlust. And yes, of course, your DPS will love you for it when you do. But when you're getting to keys 12 and higher, there is no shame in splitting this pull in 2, like it's shown here. Now for the people who don't know, as a Brewmaster, you want to grab the crit buff for increased self-healing. At the start of the dungeon here, on the right, it's these black dragons. If you rather have versatility, then talk to the red dragons just before the stairs. Now this dungeon was already out in Dragonflight, so this pull has already become pretty meta. The first thing you want to do, or not to do, is don't pull this patrol. These skitterflies, let them fly past and just walk up to the tree and get yourself ready. Now it's time. I will show you how to execute a big pull. The plan is simple. I plan to use Crackling Jade Lightning on the first Val Lasher group on the right side. Then go past the tree, throw a keg on the second Val Lasher group. Then walk to the third and taunt the last one. Now I'm gonna round them up and make sure I get aggro on all the mobs by using Keg Smash and Breath of Fire. And when I reach that point that all the mobs are around me, it's time for my opener. That I start with Invoke Nizao, the Black Ox, Breath of Fire to kick off flurry strikes, and then Keg Smash. Exploding Keg to reset the Keg Smash cooldown. And now just keep doing your rotation. Now I will show you the split pull on a higher key, a +14. I follow the same principle. But because I'm doing a split, I decide to grab these first skitterflies. Just make sure you don't get both at the same time if doing a split. And avoid these green puddles on the ground, seed detonation. Get hit by these and it's game over. A bleed that you really need to watch out for is Vile Bite. You can see your stacks here. Each lasher casts it. It hits hard and applies an 8-second stacking bleed. Now the tricky part is that these casts are desynced, so they don't all land at once, they come in sequence. So instead of one big hit, you're getting 1, 2, 3 stacks. And once you hit around 3 stacks, you're entering the danger territory. You don't want to reach 4 stacks or you will become unhealable. So here's how you deal with it. Once you reach 3 stacks, kite out for about 2 to 3 seconds. Let your bleed drop off to around 3 seconds remaining, then re-engage. If you do this correctly, your bleed will fall off before the next cast lands, resetting your stacks completely, with minimal away time. So the rhythm looks like this. Group, stack to 3, kite, re-engage, reset. Once you get the flow down, this pull becomes way more manageable. Now trust me when I say, mistakes will happen. Even if you're a self-proclaimed decent tank, with years of experience like me. I still do make a big boo-boo at times. Let me take you with me on one of those glorious moments not too long ago. Seat of the Triumvirate 13. The first pull is notoriously difficult, often considered a reality check in high keys. And in this footage, I will show you exactly why. I will show you how not to do it, and then show you how to do it correctly. So when checking Mythic Dungeon tool, it shows us the preferred pull is doing these 3 packs together. In this pull, I underestimate the difficulty of the pack and how hard they hit, and I made a few classic mistakes. So my plan was to open with Keg Smash on the first pack in front, then move to the second pack by pulling the left subjugator, and finally add the third pack with the right side subjugator. But we never got that far. The real threat here is the Shadow Guard champion. These mobs hit extremely hard on tanks. They use an ability called Relentless Pursuit. They charge you and deal a heavy physical hit if you're more than 10 yards away. So don't even think about kiting. On top of that, it applies a stacking dot, which becomes deadly pretty quick. Now that glorious moment was over real fast. Good news, mob mechanics confirmed. They work as intended. Okay, it's slow motion time. Let's see what went wrong. Mistake number 1. I definitely rushed the pull, thinking I could kite quick enough to avoid the damage. Mistake number 2, I turned my back to some of these mobs. This is a big one. You never want to turn your back, or in this case roll away from hard hitting charging enemies, as it can get you killed very fast. Mistake number 3, I didn't use a proper defensive cooldown before engaging. I only used Celestial Infusion, which clearly wasn't enough for a pull like this. This wasn't one of my proudest moments. Still, it's an important one to share and to learn from. As a tank, these things happen, and when it does, my advice is the following. Check what it is that killed you, change your plan, regroup and go again. It's the only way to get better.
A few moments later.
So that's what I did. And not long after that, like a few moments later, this pull happened. My healer is a Mistweaver. I asked him before we started, hey, would you place a cocoon on me right from the start please? This way I could time my fortifying brew for when I have all 3 packs together. And this time I'm not rushing, I'm taking my time, going slowly with 2 packs to the 3rd. I kind of do a body pull with the 3rd pack and make sure I don't get hit in the back. But that's the tag right there. They come running in, I pop my fortifying brew, and then I decide to build initial threat, start throwing kegs. And when they join the group, I seal the deal by hammering them home with my rotation and many glorious flurry strikes. These change from the subjugators do group damage, but if you want to help out your healer, they can be broken by using Tiger's Lust. And because of this pretty annoying mechanic, even though we just combined 3 packs that we use Bloodlust on, you just know everyone has used their cooldowns. My goal here is to let everyone recover and not combine the 2 subjugators again. Let the group get their cooldowns back up and give the healer a breather. The chains are so annoying, I just don't recommend pulling them together. Get these safely out of the way, and this way your team's cooldowns will be ready for the boss fight. And there you have it. That's the full breakdown of threat, taunting and how to pick up big packs with confidence. Keep this cycle going, don't turn your back on the mobs, keep doing your rotation and you'll maximize both your damage and your survivability. It's time to wrap things up. Next episode I'll cover tips and tricks, how to maximize your tank with races, professions and macros. And I will go over my UI setup from the Brewmaster's perspective, making sure you have all the info on screen that you need to perform well. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and if you want to support me even more, consider becoming a member. And remember, you don't avoid damage, you just reschedule it. Thanks for watching, Brinks out.